I would like to thank the grace of heaven, the mercies and compassion of the Master's grand predecessor, transmitters, lecturers, and all of you for this opportunity to present this topic on how to become a vegetarian or vegan. So, as a dog cultivator and one that has taken the vegetarian vow and following its rules and regulations, we are often asked, what is the difference between a vegan diet and a vegetarian diet? We are all confronted with that question from time to time. A simple logical answer to the question is a vegan diet is one of many number of vegetarian diets. Typically, vegetarian diets are broken into three or more groups. A lacto-ovo-vegetarian, whose diet includes eating dairy products and eggs. A lacto-vegetarian, who eats dairy but avoid eggs. And a vegan vegetarian are those who avoid animal products altogether. There are other more specific diets that fit into one of these categories and are typically associated with vegetarianism. For instance, microbiotics or macro diet consists largely of whole grain cereals and cooked vegetables. There are also whole food vegans, junk food vegans, and low fat vegans. So, how to become a vegetarian or vegan? Some people become vegetarian or vegan gradually, while others do it all at once. If you can't become a vegetarian overnight, you might find that you can eliminate one animal product at a time, or go vegan or vegetarian for one meal a day or one day a week, and then expand until you are completely vegetarian or vegan, depending on the trend or road that you're taking. To achieve this, we should stay away from eating animals that creep, fly, or swim. Also, connecting with other vegetarian or vegan groups can be very helpful for information, support, camaraderie, recipe sharing, or local vegan restaurant recommendations. If you are not yet a vegetarian or vegan, will you consider becoming a vegetarian or vegan? Next slide, please. Typically, the word vegetarian only describes the food that one consumes. However, many vegetarian or vegan lead similar lifestyles. A vegetarian lifestyle is much more than just a diet. Vegetarian and vegans strive to eat healthy and natural foods while avoiding animal products. At the same time, vegans, vegetarians strive in all aspects of their lives to avoid animal products, including clothing and cosmetic products, household items, and of course food. Therefore, the strict animal product-free vegetarian diet is only a part of being vegan. For most vegans, the transition from standard diet to their new lifestyle happens in stages. This can sometimes include stepping through a number of less strict vegetarian diet and then stepping up to lifestyle changes once a strict vegan diet has been achieved. After becoming a vegetarian or vegan, there is a special calmness and sense of well-being that is achieved from abstaining from eating the flesh of sentient beings. Vegetarianism is a practice of minimizing harm to all animals, which requires abstention from animal products such as meat, fish, dairy, eggs, honey, gelatin, lanolin, wool, fur, silk, suede, and leather. Some call vegetarianism a moral baseline for animal rights activists. When we eliminate all these foods, what will our diet be? A vegetarian or vegan eat plant-based foods such as grains, beans, vegetables, fruits, and nuts. Vegetarians and vegans have a wide variety of foods to choose from. The diet may seem very restrictive to those who are used to an omnivorous diet. Let me tell you a story from the time of the Three Kingdoms. That is 196 AD to 265 AD. In the city of Luoyang, had a famine, and in that city suffering starvation, except one who had a radiant look as usual. The Prime Minister Chow required him to the reason, and he replied, I had been a vegetarian for 30 years. Thus, one who sincerely practiced Tao should maintain a pure and clean body by eliminating any meat, poultry, fish, garlic, onion, family, leek, shallot, smoking, and drinking. This way, his chances of being ill will be reduced. The moral of the story is if everyone were vegetarian, the calamities would probably not be so severe. As a non vegetarian, you might say, but those are vegetables. Yes, they are, but they are pungent vegetables. In case your next question is, why don't we eat them? Here's why. Onions. Eating onions harm the kidney. Garlic. Eating garlic harms the heart. Leek. Eating leek harms the liver. Shallot. Eating shallot harms the spleen. Tobacco. Using tobacco harms the lungs. Now, our body have these five internal organs: heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidney. Whenever one heart is active, when we are alive, and our five chi or energy becomes contaminated from the consumption of said pungent vegetables, we need to purify and recover our original state when our heart was pure and tranquil. That's not hard to do. All we have to do is become vegetarian. This requires discipline. We can do this by becoming a vegetarian by not eating the five impure vegetables or by not killing or eating the flesh of any sentient beings. In today's modern time, most carnivores would ask, you just eat salad? This again is a very common question that we are asked by meat eaters. No, we don't just eat salad. We eat very healthy food. So, however, a vegetarian diet can include a wide variety of Italian pastas, Indian, Singapore, and Caribbean curries, Chinese stir-fried, Tex-Mex burritos, and even meatloaf made from textured vegetable protein or beans. Many of our meat and dairy analogs are now available, including sausages, burgers, hot dog, chicken, nuggets, milk, cheese, and ice cream, all made without animal products. Vegetarian meals can also be rather simple and humble, such as a Caribbean style corn soup, butter squash soup, oh yes, even a big raw vegetable salad. Animal products sometimes shows up in unexpected places. So many vegetarians learn to become avid label readers. So when we are reading those labels, we should look out for whey, honey, albumin, carmine, or vitamin D3 in foods that one might otherwise expect to be vegetarian. So read the labels to make sure before we consume those foods. Reading label is not always enough, as some animal ingredients make their way into our foods as natural flavors. See, a lot of business now today are jumping on the bandwagon and using the word natural, vegan, and also organic. So we have to be very careful. In which case, one would have to call on the company to find out if the flavors are animal free. Some vegetarians also object to animal products being used to process beer and sugar, even if the animal product does not end up in the food. See, as a vegetarian, I do feel for the animals. Next slide, please. In It is ironic that most of the animal meat eaters consume food who live on green foods alone. These animals build massive amount of muscles and strength. Green leaves are the majority of the meats on the table in the homes and restaurants. Even domesticated animals like a gorilla diet is based on fruits and vegetables. And you know, gorillas are stronger than a bunch of humans combined. So, feeling for the animal does not mean to adapt one and live with it in harmony. Harmony does not necessarily mean to live with. We do not have to live with one animal while we eat another. That is not being compassionate. However, we must have and show genuine compassion for all living things. That is harmony. How we should feel for the animals. It makes me wonder if protein supplement, as is still trending these days during the rise of all the new global vegan movements and organizations. So many people today are professing that they are now vegans. So many new businesses are into the vegan and vegetarian lifestyles. So when we see advertisement and meat eaters are trying to convince us to say that we should not be vegan or vegetarian because we don't get enough protein, that's not true. So question is protein really necessary to build muscles and strength? It is a known fact that green vegetation and fruits have enough protein to suffice growth. Do you know that cows grow up to 400 to 1,000 pounds or more on grass and soybeans? If you really care about the animals, adopt veganism, which extends from observing a vegetarian diet, which is a diet that includes all animal and exclude all animal and animal products of any kind, to an entire lifestyle that precludes animal products from all aspects of life. Adopting a vegan diet can be fantastic entry into experiencing better health. Vegetarian diet is associated with a higher consumption of fiber, folic acid, vitamin C and E, magnesium, unsaturated fat, and countless phytochemicals. This often results in vegetarians having lower cholesterol, being healthier, having lower blood pressure, and reduced risk of heart disease. That means you will be much healthier. Don't you want to be healthier? So if you're not yet a vegetarian, now is the time. When we go to the petrol station to fill the car with fuel, have you noticed that there are different kinds of fuel? Example, petrol, diesel, regular, and super. The kind of fuel we buy depends on the kind of fuel the engine runs on. Just so our body runs on the fuel it gets from what we eat. If it does not get the right kind of fuel, then it does not work very well, or like an engine, it could break down. There are three micronutrients: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Micronutrients provide calories, energy, and body. The body requires large amount of micronutrients to sustain life, hence the term macro. There are beneficial external factors in eliminating meat and all animal products from our diet. Example, environmental, global warming, animal cruelty, health concerns, world hunger, water and land conservation. Next slide, please. Environmental, helping to minimize global warming, the end to animal cruelty, the possibility of eradicating the use of drug dependence and health concerns. Hunger, There are so many countries that people throughout the world suffering from hunger. A global plant-based diet will end world hunger. So much water and land is used for harvesting farmland, which primarily use is to feed farm animals. The land should be used for food, for human consumption. Don't you think so? As dog cultivators and being vegetarian or vegan, the internal factors are most important and vital to our cultivation. Some of these factors are compassion and mercy. We should show such manner to the animals. They cannot speak to us, but we read their emotions because their Buddha nature is connected to our Buddha nature. They are just a lower form animal species, yet we are the same. As a vegan vegetarian, it is important that we reduce our consumption of vegan meats, the analogs, the stuff that we are getting these days, especially on the 1st and the 15th of the lunar calendar months. Those dates are special to and for our cultivation. So remember, when the 1st and the 15th of the lunar months, we should try not to eat any of those meats that are provided in the supermarket these days. So next slide, please. So what is carbohydrate? Carbohydrates are any of a large group of organic compound occurring in food and living tissues and including sugar, starch, and cellulose. They contain hydrogen and oxygen in the same ratio as water and typically can be broken down to release energy in the human body. The two main forms of carbohydrates are sugar and fructose, glucose, lactose, and starches, which are found in foods such as starchy vegetables like potatoes and corn, grains, rice, bread, and cereal. So water now is why do we need so much water when our body is 80% water? Water helps to energize muscles. If the body does not get enough water, cells can do cells that do not maintain their balance of fluids and electrolytes shivers, which can result in muscle fatigue. So we need to drink more water. So drinking enough fluid is important when exercising or doing harder work. So the body loses water through breathing, sweating, digestion, which is why it is important to rehydrate by drinking fluids and eating water-soluble foods. Our body uses water in all its cells, organs, and tissues and help regulate its temperature and maintain other body functions. So fats. Why do our body need fat? Body fat is a normal constituent of the human body that serves the important function of storing energy as fat for metabolic demands. Obesity is an excess of body fat resulting in a significant impairment to health. So if you are told that you are obese, that means that you should just lose some weight and get it healthy by using more plant-based foods. As a vegetarian or vegan, we can meet our daily body requirement of nutrients by using and combining fruits and vegetables properly. To properly accumulate nutrients, use our food processor or blender to prepare our fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Add a little avocado oil as necessary. Do you know that avocado is one of the few foods high in fat that is good for us on any or all occasion? Also, coconut oil or coconut is healthy to cook with. Though high in fat, other foods that contains healthy fats granola, and vegan yogurt. So let's speak about protein a little bit. We'll speak a lot about protein today because I'm sure most of you constantly are asked or told that you will not get enough protein. So let's start here. So what is protein? Protein is a micronutrient that is essential to build muscle mass. It is commonly found in sources such as nuts and legumes. Protein is also found in animal products, which we should not be interested in unless we are reading our labels. What does protein do for our body? The body has several basic building blocks, and protein is an important one of these. In fact, protein accounts for around 16% of a person's total body weight. That is because connective tissue, skin, hair, and muscles are all made up of protein. Protein is not just responsible for making up these substances. It also plays a crucial role in the majority of our body's fuel and oil itself. Even some of the important chemicals found within the body are partially made with protein, and some of these includes DNA, neurotransmitters, hormones, and enzymes. So I will speak more on nutrients and vitamins later. So just so you know, broccoli contains more protein per calorie than a fat steak, and spinach has more protein than chicken and fish. Of course, you will need to eat a lot more broccoli and spinach to get the same number of calories that you do not need. Let the meat eaters count their own calories that they get from eating meat. There is one thing you should know about spinach. Do not mix spinach with tofu. Spinach has an arsenic acid that does not mix with tofu. It is alleged that that acid causes kidney stones. So, next slide, please. So, on this slide, the words are not very clear for you, so I'll read the entire thing. So it starts at the head. It says health benefit of consuming vegan foods. So richer in nutrients, several studies claim that plant-based or vegan diets are richer in antioxidant, fiber, folates, magnesium, potassium, and vitamin A, C, and E. Then on the other side, it says reduce risk of heart disease. Those who eat mostly plant-based foods are 33% less likely to die from heart disease. Then below it says can help with weight reduction. A study proved that a vegan diet helps its participant lose 9.3 pounds more than a controlled diet during a 10-week period. So about the benefits of eating and living a vegan lifestyle. A lifestyle that will save us the stress of having animal flesh stuck in between our teeth. You know that those who are still eating meat, you're eating that steak and you find the meat sticking in your teeth all the time. Yes, vegetables do that sometimes, but then it's different. So apart from saving us the stress of having to pick our teeth when we eat meat, vegans according to the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics are less likely to develop heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and high blood pressure than meat eaters. This is because the vegan diet does not contain all the cholesterol and saturated animal fat, thereby lowering the risk of having these deadly diseases. Now, about vegetarian and nutrition, vitamin, and the things that we need to sustain our body and knowing what we are eating. So, vitamins are found into two categories. Fat soluble vitamins are stored in the body as fatty tissues. The four fat-soluble vitamins are vitamin A, D, E, and K. These vitamins are absorbed more easily by the body in the presence of a dietary fat. There are 9 water-soluble vitamins. They are not stored in the body, and leftover water-soluble vitamins leave the body through urine. Although the body keeps a small reserve of these vitamins, they have to be taken on a regular basis to prevent storage in the body. Vitamin B12 is the only water soluble vitamin that can be stored in the liver for many years. Yet, we need to sometimes take a vitamin B supplement to obtain enough of vitamin B12. Protein function as building blocks for bones, muscle strength, skin, and blood. They are also building blocks for enzyme, hormones, and vitamin. Proteins are one of these nutrients that provides calories. The others are fat and carbohydrates. So dry beans, peas, nuts, and seeds supply many nutrients. These includes protein, B vitamin, B6, E, iron, zinc, and magnesium. So carbohydrates are our body main source of energy. They help fuel our brain, kidney, heart, and muscles, and central nervous system. For instance, fiber is a carbohydrate that aids in digestion, helps us feel full, and keeps our blood cholesterol level in check. So if we are not getting enough fiber, naturally we get constipated and then we may be sick. Other vitamins are in divided into 13 essential vitamins. This means that these vitamins are required for the body to work properly. They are vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, vitamin B1, vitamin B2, vitamin B3, and vitamin B5. Biotin, which is vitamin B7, vitamin B6, and of course, as previously mentioned, vitamin B12. Folate, which is vitamin B9. So coming back again about consuming protein, here are 10 science-based reasons to eat protein. 1, it reduces appetite and hunger levels, increase muscle mass and strength. It's good for the bones, reduce craving and desire for late night snacks, boost metabolism and increase fat burning, low blood pressure, help maintain weight loss. So to balance this out, we need some carbohydrates. So carbohydrate source such as high fiber, starchy foods, vegetable fruits, and legumes are also an important source of nutrients such as calcium, iron, and B vitamins. Dietary fats are healthy or good fats. So these are in lower the risk of heart disease and stroke, lower bad LDL or cholesterol level, while increasing good HDL, which are higher density proteins. Then these prevent heart rhythm, normal heart rhythm, lower triglyceride associated with heart disease and fight inflammation, lower blood pressure. Fat helps the body absorb vitamin A, vitamin D, and vitamin A. These vitamins are fat soluble, which means they can only be absorbed with the help of fats. So what food provides us with? Next slide, please. Protein food source. The best form of protein can plant source such as seeds and nuts, legumes like beans and lentils needs protein to maintain and repair tissues. Meanwhile, children need it for growth. Studies show that eating protein can also help humans lose weight and belly fat while increasing muscle mass and strength. If excess protein is consumed, it is usually stored as fat, while the surplus of omega acid is excreted. This can lead to weight gain over time, especially if we consume too many calories while trying to increase our protein. So, proper nutrition and balance is needed to do that. As indicated by the chart, plant sources are more fortified than all animal flesh. Next slide, please. Why is one worth less than the other? As we walk around today, almost, maybe I would say, 40 to 50% of the people are now animal owners, and they are treating the animals, dogs and cats and even pigs, better than they are treating human children. All right. So, why is one worth more than the other or less than the other? All instances, all existence has a soul, a true nature, a spirit. Every animal has a true nature, just like every human do. In the United States, 10 billion animals are killed yearly for food. If the slaughterhouses had glass walls, would people be still eating meat? Killing animals and eating them for food lacks compassion. None of the methods used by the butcher can be considered or viewed as compassionate. All form of killing is evil and wrong. Eating animal is also evil and wrong. When we eat the flesh of animals, it keeps the benevolent aspect away. Every killed animal has a mother and father, a sister, a brother, and other siblings. Snuffing out the life of one for food lacks compassion. No, I saw a video clip on Facebook where a calf was sold to and placed in a truck. As the purchaser drove away, the mother cow ran behind the truck for miles, following, bellowing for its child or its calf. Families are torn apart. Also, much like with humans, once a cow gives birth, a strong bond instantly forms between mother and baby. That's why the mother ran behind the truck and bellowing for its calf. They will not have much time together though. Within a day or two after birth, calves are typically separated from their mothers and feed milk replacers so that the dairy products and industry of milk and other milk products that was meant for the calf. This separation causes extreme distress for cows and her calf. Mothers have been known to cry out for their missing babies for days after they have been taken away. So why does a dog or cat worth more than an edible animal? Farm animals are no less intelligent or capable of feeling pain than a dog or cat than human cherish as so much. Do not make our stomach a graveyard for animals. That means if we are eating the meat, we are burying it. But what about our internal source, our external forces, and our future sources? Saints and Buddha says all animals were our past lives, families, and relatives. That means when we eat the meat, we probably are eating our parents. It sounds gross, but it's a fact. Next slide, please. So don't pay others to kill for you. More than 80% of pigs have pneumonia upon slaughter. A battery chicken lives in a space smaller than your iPod. Animals are forced to grow up in times faster than nature intended. Dairy cows are killed after just 3 lactation cycles. Although the US typically has hum- humane slaughter laws, they provide very little protection for pigs, cows, sheep, and goats, and do not provide any protection for chickens, turkeys, or other birds. Each and every animal that is used for food by meat eaters have a right to life. The same right to life and the pursuit of happiness that us humans claims to have. So does an animal have a mother and father, a brother and sister? Yes, they do. They protect and serve. They grieve when one is ill or die, just like humans do. Do we have the right to take away that right from the animal? No, we don't. The right we humans so cherish, why do we take that away from animals? When we buy meat from the supermarket, we are not only paying the grocer, but we are also paying the butcher to take the life of the animal. Even though we call them animals and they have different names, they are not really different from us because we all have the same Buddha nature. When an animal is afraid for its life, that fear is embedded in the animal's consciousness. When the animal is killed, the butcher takes on the karma and from the animals. When the animal flesh is consumed, those eating the flesh share in the karma, creating a collective karmic realm with the butcher, the seller, the supermarket worker processing the meat. Considering the number of animals slaughtered daily, it is easy to understand that the calamities that we are faced with is associated with karmas created by the inhumane act by human against animals. Animal right is the belief that animals have an intrinsic value separate from any value they have to human and are worthy of moral consideration. They have the right to be free of oppression, confinement, use and abuse by humans. If you have a question about animal rights, the Animal Law Reserve Center provides access to legislation and legal matters pertaining to animals and the law. Inform Information concerning animal cruelty, animal control, laboratory animals welfare, wildlife management, and other issues concerning animals. Next slide, please. So plant-based foods, they are all the plants-based food that us vegans have available for a healthy lifestyle. Eating vegetables as broccoli, Brussels sprout, cauliflower, watercress, turnip, mustard green, kale, rutabaga, collard greens, kohlrabi, arugula, and white radish. Eating these vegetables provide many health benefits. People who eat more vegetables and fruits as part of an overall healthy diet are likely to have a reduced risk of some chronic diseases. Vegetables provide nutrients vital for to prevent diseases. A healthy body maintained by eating more fruits and vegetables. Eating healthy rich foods such as vegetables may reduce the risk of stroke and provide other cardiovascular diseases. Reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes, protect against certain cancers of the mouth, stomach, and colon rectum cancer. Reduce the risk of coronary heart disease, reduce the risk of developing kidney stone, and may help to reduce bone loss, helping to lower calorie intake. So, will you continue to be murdering or paying others to slaughter innocent animals and mammals for food? If you are not yet a vegetarian, I do hope that you would consider as soon as possible to become a vegetarian, and most of all, take the vegetarian vow. Next slide, please. The physical aspects. Humans are not natural meat eaters. Unlike carnivores and omnivores, humans do not have either killing claws or fang teeth. We do not stalk or salivate when we see another living animal or piece of raw meat. However, we do salivate sometimes when we see a ripe, fresh fruit. A meat eater not only absorbs the animal cells and fat, etc., but also the waste products. Example, chemical food stuff fed to the animals, drugs injected into the animals in the slaughterhouses, and the intoxicants, coloring, and tenderizers sprayed on the dead animals by the market suppliers. Did you know that meat burgers are made from cows with the 4Ds? That is dead, dying, disabled, and disease. Plus, hamburgers have the highest recall of E. coli. There are some spirituality in not eating meat. The mind is formed of the subtle energies of that which we eat. Our diet is one of the most crucial aspects of our spiritual regimen. It determines the quality and effectiveness of our heart and mind. Negative energy gives us random and chaotic manner of and produce negative state of mind. When we eat the flesh of sentient beings, we create karmas and offset the natural balance. This is one of the reasons why there are so many diseases, wars, crime, killing, and calamities. Next slide, please. The physical health aspect. As per livestock farmers, antibiotics have many benefits. The benefits of antibiotics in animal feed includes increased efficiency and growth rate, treating clinically sick animals and preventing or reducing the incidence of infectious disease. By far, the major use of antibiotics among those, however, is increased efficiency. Example, a more efficient conversion of feed to animal products and an improved growth rate. In chicken feed, for example, triglyceride and penicillin show substantial improvement in eggs, production, feeds, efficiency, and hatchability, but not sufficient effect on morality. And the use of antibiotics and hormones in livestock to help livestock grow bigger and faster. Overuse antibiotics in animals can develop drug resistance infection, which can and has proven fatal for humans. In humans, studies have shown that antibiotics raise the risk of weight gain and obesity as they wipe out beneficial gut bacteria that help regulate weight. In animals, however, this phenomenon has been seen as positive, with several countries still using antibiotics to grow, promote, and the rate of 30% by human and 70% by animals. After animals have been fed antibiotics over a period of time, they retain the strain of bacteria which are resistant to antibiotics. These bacteria proliferate in the animals. Through interaction, the resistant bacteria are transmitted to the other animals, thus forming a colonization of antibiotics in resistant bacteria. This bacteria flourishes in the internal flora of the animals as well as in the muscles. As a result, the feces of the animal often contains the resistant bacteria. This transfer of the bacteria from animals to human is possible through many practices. The primary exposure of humans to resist bacteria occurs in farms and slaughterhouses. Humans clean the feces, which contains the bacteria, of the animals on farms. During the cleaning process, humans may get bacteria on their body and hands. If the body or the hands are not properly cleaned, the bacteria could be ingested by the person. Likewise, in slaughterhouses during slaughter, the intestine is severed. Resistant bacteria are exposed to slaughterhouses workers, which could get the bacteria on their bodies and hands. Transmission occurs when the bacteria is ingested. So that means we are eating, and some, especially things like mince meat, those meat is full of bacteria. So because the cleanliness of farmhouses are such that there's so much feces on the floor, on the ground, where in the slaughterhouses that they are not cleaning it first. Then they're slaughtering the animals. It always ends up in the marketed meat. Next slide, please. Some vegetarians you may know. You know that healthy habits such as eating well, exercising and avoiding harmful substances make sense. But did you ever stop to think about why we practice them? A healthy habit is any behavior that benefits our physical, mental, and emotional health. These habits improve our overall well being and make us feel good. Healthy habits are hard to develop and often require changing our mindset. But if we are willing to make sacrifices or better our health, the impact can be far reaching, regardless of our age or sex or physical ability. If we are a vegetarian, we are in good company. Here are some very famous vegan vegetarian you may know. Of course, Buddha, Leonardo da Vinci, Percy Shelley, Mary Shelley, Gandhi, George Bernard Shaw, Isaac Singer, and all live healthy lifestyles. Next slide, please. Other vegan vegetarians you may know or heard of that are not listed there are Milton Mills, Kai Green, Mr. Universe. Can you imagine this guy have so much muscle and he has been a vegetarian for many, many years. Chris Martin, Tom Brady, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lou Hamilton, John McDonnell, Venus Williams, Eric Adams. In this resource, vegetarians are considered people who have refrained from eating red meat, poultry, and fish for about a year or more of their lives. Some of the people listed are or were vegans, avoiding the use of animal products, including eggs and dairy. Next slide, please. So, cows are forcibly impregnated. What does that mean? Just like humans, cow only produce milk once they have given birth. So, to keep the milk flowing, farmers artificially inseminate female cows about once a year. Time after and time again, animal equity has exposed animal welfare violation and extreme abuse from farmers on dairy farms all over the world. But even under the best possible circumstances, when no laws are violated, cruelty and suffering is inherent in the commercial dairy industry. The dairy industry supports the veal industry. If the calf is female, she will typically continue the cruel cycle of being forcibly impregnated and exploited for her milk, just like her mom. Male calves, however, are considered useless to the dairy industry because they cannot produce milk. And if they are not sold for beef, they will likely be sold to the veal industry. There, they will suffer in solitary confinement and cramped crates. Farmers purposely limit the calves' movement to keep their flesh tender and feed them diet lacking in iron to keep their flesh white. They will be killed for veal after a few miserable months of life. So, what can we do? The good news is that we don't have to contribute to the cruel cycle with all of the delicious plant-based options available at the grocery stores today. Helping cows to now easier is now easier than it has ever been. With some minor adjustment, you can make kinder choices that do not contribute to harming animals. Next slide, please. The environmental aspect. You have climate change. Raising animal for food creates more greenhouse gases than all the transportation in the world combined. Livestock emits about or almost 64% of total ammonia emission, contributing significantly to acid rain and to acidification of the ecosystem. Livestock are also a highly significant source of methane emission, contributing 35 to 40% of methane emission worldwide. The rainforest destruction. 30% of Earth's land is used for raising animals for food, including land requiring to grow feed crops. 80% of the Amazon deforested land is used for cattle pasture. Going meat-free saves the trees. We could grow so many fruits and vegetables with that land. With so many hungry people in the world, 70% of the grain grown in the United States are still fed to farmed animals. Imagine how many people we could feed if we all went vegan. Pollution. A pound of beef requires 13% more fossil fuel to produce than a pound of soy. If you really want to save fossil fuel, do not just drive a Prius and cut meat out of your diet. Carbon footprint, methane, and nitrous oxide produced by cattle digestion and fertilization of soil, respectively, are much more powerful greenhouse gases. So we need to also save water. It takes 15 times more water to produce a pound of beef than a pound of soy. Agriculture overall consumes about 70% of the world's fresh water. A third of it goes to grow feed for animals. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, we all believe that a healthy body creates a healthy mind and vice versa. I will conclude by further stressing on the health benefits of being a vegan or vegetarian. By now, we all know that eating right can help us maintain a healthy weight and avoid certain health problems. But our diet can also have a profound effect on our moods and our sense of well-being. Studies have linked eating a typical Western diet filled with processed meats, packaged meals, takeout foods, and sugary snacks has been known to cause higher rates of depression, stress, bipolar disorder, and anxiety. Eating an unhealthy diet may even play a role in the development of mental health disorder such as ADHD, Alzheimer's disease, and the increased risk of suicide in young people. Every day, hundreds of children on this planet are starving to death. Crops could be used to feed the hungry instead. They are being used to fatten animals raised as food. If everyone ate a vegan or vegetarian diet, there would be more than enough food to nourish the entire world population. Being vegan and vegetarian will help to relieve our karmas, to get all the virtues and merits. We must become a vegan or vegetarian. That is why Holy Teacher always say the biggest vow is a vegetarian vow. The advantages of eating meat is, the disadvantage of eating meat is when we do our creditors and debtors will get most of our merits and virtues. We would then have to pay back 3 times more because our merits and virtues value would have been decreased. As a result of that, we would be destined to return to this human world. We must nourish our benevolent and a compassionate heart. Become a vegetarian or vegan will make the world more harmonious and peaceful. And that is the end of my presentation. If I had said anything or made any mistakes, right, I hope that this could be discussed later. So before I close, are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, when you were talking about the antibiotic stuff, you said triglyceride, you meant tetracycline, actually.
Tetracycline, yes.
Yeah. Let's see, and also when you said it was 23% less likely to die of heart disease for people on plant-based diets, actually close, it's more like, I think, 32%. Let's see, actually, worldwide, there are at least 36 billion animals being killed every year. So it's a huge number. Oh, yeah, it's a comment. In terms of protein, actually, I think it's impossible to be protein deficient in eating a plant-based diet. I mean, unless maybe you're eating junk food all the time. But if you're just eating kind of a pretty balanced or, relatively balanced, you're not eating junk food, you'll get plenty of protein. There's
more than enough.
Yeah, more than enough. I mean, that people have a misconception that you need a lot more protein than you really do. Yeah.
So if people don't understand it, just go to GNC or any pharmacy and you'll see there to compare the amount of protein supplement that are on shelves. So they're trying to let you think that you have to have protein supplement, but plant-based diets would supply more protein than if you're taking a supplement.
Yeah, actually, let's see. I mean, there's a lot of, I was checking out some YouTube videos recently. There's a lot more to this, the health. I mean, this plant-based diet, and then, but there are other things like you mentioned like bacteria. There's actually bacteria everywhere. Okay. And the bacteria, there's a lot of bacteria within us too, on our body and in our body. In fact, it's like they say, the bacteria that's in or on our body, basically it's roughly the same number as the number of cells we have in our body. So we're like half bacteria, half human or whatever.
Well, but the reason for that is, I think, is because the body bacteria is used to regulate some things in the body. So it's things that we can't get rid of. It's just part of our, internal system.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is what they call the biome. Within the especially the bacteria that's in our intestines are very important to our health. Yeah. And they, in fact, for example, eating meat, and what we eat affects the type of bacteria that's in the intestines. And there are like probably hundreds or thousands of different types of bacteria that are in there. And but we depend on them to break down the food and produce nutrients. But meat in particular, when we eat meat, if we eat meat, the bacteria, they produce, because meat has these proteins, choline and carnitine, okay, and bacteria will produce this organic compound called TMA from that, and then that gets absorbed into the body, and then the liver converts that to TMAO, which is I think it's called trimethylamine or something like that. But people with a high amount of TMAO in their blood basically have a greater than 2 times risk of getting a heart attack or stroke. Okay, so that's why that there is this causal relation between eating meat and getting a heart attack or stroke. Okay, so but we have to they're just beginning to, well, I don't know, within the last maybe 10 years or so, they've been kind of starting to study the bacteria and its relation to our health. And it is important that, because depending on the foods that we eat, then we have, basically everyone has almost like an individual makeup of bacteria within their gut. So certain foods, some people, you might say, oh, if you eat this, it's good for you or whatever. For some people, it may not have as much an effect or any effect because they have a different microbiome in their intestines. Okay, so that's one thing. And so actually, the greater the diversity of our food that we eat, we want to eat a great variety, then we'll have a greater variety of bacteria in our gut, and that's good. Or we don't want to like just eat only 4 different type of food, and the bacteria in our intestines will be very limited. There'll only be a few types that kind of thrive on that type of food, and then but that's not good for our health either. So it is kind of interesting.
But there's a way for people to find out which are those food that is good for us or work with the bacteria or agreeable. Because sometimes you eat and you find you'll get constipated or you get like diarrhea. So the process of elimination or mixing, you have to change certain things to make sure that your internal or your gut bacteria is agreeable with certain things, or you did not eat too much of some things, so then the gut sort of react adversely to it.
First thing, Guan Yin Buddha talk about vegetarian. So she said that when we are vegetarians, we will reduce our bad karma. So at least we can break off the karma with all the animals. That's very, very important. For all the Buddhas, they are all vegetarian. If we are not vegetarian, we will not be there. We will be there, but we need a long way to go to cultivate. And Holy Teacher did mention it one time in California during the Dharma class, because when we make a donation or make an effort, do a good deed, put all the efforts there, but he only received 50% of the credit what we have done. So when we make a donation, for example, we donate $100, he might only receive $50 only, because our karma creditors took 50% of them on the way to the Holy Teacher. So Holy Teacher should keep reminding all of us, if we make all donation, do all the good things, try to be a vegetarian, that's the best thing for all of us. Second thing is, I know what we eat, but the other thing is we need to know not just what we eat, what we say, what we think, what we do. Got to be all good, very pure, and do good things, and have pure thought with no thought. So very critical, our mindset, our behavior, and also what we do on a good deed. So this got to be together, okay? So the other last thing is, it's not just only for vegetarian, for all of us. I find out that when I took a blood test in the beginning, years ago, first things I found out we are lacking of vitamin B and vitamin D. So for a lot of people who take vitamin B or B complex or B12 and D, vitamin D to help us to balance the nutrition. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, actually, B12, that's it doesn't come from animals; it comes from bacteria. And so there are you can get it plant based. I mean, you don't need to eat meat to get B12. You can there are sources from just on plants that you can get, but it's it comes from the bacteria. And the bacteria in the gut also produce B12. Yeah, I mean, they also use it, but they also produce it.
Produce it, yeah. So that's why I said earlier that the body can store it, but we need to still consume some of it so that the body will always have enough for it to suffice.
Yeah. So if we take the vitamins, we have to make sure this is a vegan. It's not, because a lot of vitamins, they have all these different ingredients. So we have to be careful there. So we have to look for the vegan vitamin B, C, D, all kind of different vitamins. They are all available today. Okay, that's what. And then if we take every day, you can feel body are totally different. So that helps a lot, especially for myself. I can feel totally different. Okay, so it's good for everybody to take it.
Yeah, actually, I would also, because basically a lot of there are these doctors who are kind of pushing, like Dr. Barnard or Esselstyn or these others. What they push is this whole food plant-based diet. Okay, so basically we have to cut out the processed foods. So try to eat things that basically when you buy in the supermarket, it's not like packaged or, it's not processed. So even like if you want to eat like a Beyond Burger, that's processed, okay, even though it's vegetarian, but that's processed. And so that's not as good as eating whole grains, or whatever it's coming from. And so, and then try to reduce the oil, even though you say, these are plant-based oils, but still it's oil. And that can, still cause problems. And so we try to minimize the usage of oil, as well. Okay. Now they don't mention like salt, things like that. Maybe those are like, less, significant factors. Obviously you can't, don't eat too much salt, or sugar, of course, that's not good. No, you don't want to eat added sugars, things like that. But fruit, eat fruit it naturally has fructose. So that's okay. That actually is different from, the regular, like sucrose that, they have this thing called this glycemic index, and which, when you eat fruits, it doesn't spike your, blood sugar as much as eating regular sugar. So fruits are, tend to be okay.
Yeah.
And then also to be vegetarian, one thing we also have to pay attention. We need, I know, especially during the pandemic period, we need to do a little exercise at home. Everybody should do that.
Yeah.
Everybody should do that. The reason because we just have one member's husband, because still pretty young, just suddenly got heart attack and passed away from the other temple. So I know we didn't pay attention to say we got to moving around, do a little exercise every day because most people stay home. They do not have to enough outside work or exercise. So we need to move around, do a little exercise every day. We have to keep ourselves healthy. Okay, everybody has to pay attention to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see, because of the pandemic, most people are just sitting all the time, and sitting is not really healthy because we are sitting and our legs are hanging down. So the flow of our blood is not almost unnormal. So exercise is so important, and it's not very strenuous. Unless you really want to do strenuous exercise, you could do so many little things. Walking at a standing position, just bouncing like from toes, raising your heels and things like that. Just keeping the blood flowing all the time. So this way, you change your heart rate. If we could just change our heart rate, then that will keep us healthy. But if we are not doing that, then we are not going to be healthy, and this pandemic can cause a lot of injuries.
Yeah. Movement or exercise is definitely part of being healthy. It's the other aspect.
This is for discussion. So anybody want to discuss any topics, you can talk about it. We got a few minutes for discussions. Thank you.
See, also, guys, because we are trying to get all the listening members and all thing to become vegetarian and to take the vegetarian vow. So it's important now that if you have questions or concerns, now is the time for you to ask or say what give your comments.
And people can take one step at a time. Don't have to transfer to vegetarian completely at once. You can do maybe one in the morning. Take vegetarian food in the morning, or maybe do 1 day per week to start with, or maybe do 2 days a month, first of 15th of the month. So you can do different way to start it. One by one. Don't have to rush and change completely in the beginning.
A good way to do it is that everyone has their own favorite meal of the day, maybe breakfast, lunch, or dinner or supper. So whichever is your favorite meal, just try being a vegetarian for that meal and see if the changes that your body experience. And then you'll know if, I could add another meal, and then another, and then afterwards you just change over. So this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, what some people say is, what you can try is to first, whatever meat or whatever that you're eating, you can look for something that's maybe similar or equivalent in the plant-based, because now there are a lot of those. Yeah. And you can switch to those first and then see how you like it. Actually, what they say is, these are all kind of like habits. And then so they say that if you kind of switch over to something and you try it, let's say for 3 weeks, that if you can get through the 3 weeks, then it should be easy to stay on that, keep that change in your diet. And so, but you can try, a few things at a time. You don't have to do it all at once. Just try switching out a few items, for plant-based versions.
Another way to do it is that, whatever your favorite meat is, try cooking it without any flavors, any salt, any seasoning, anything, and eat, and you'll see that meat don't really have any taste. All right, so it's just our taste. So if we could do that, then you'll realize, and then try eating some type of vegetables without giving any seasoning or any salt, and you'll see the plant has its own flavor. whereas meat don't have any flavor.
Is Tyler here? Tyler? Sally?
No, I was gonna say
Craving for meat.
that's a interesting question, but I was gonna say that it helps when your family like is vegetarian. I'm kind of fortunate enough where I don't cook, and my mom cooks, so yeah, I guess I have that the easy route out. And she does a great job at preparing my meals, so I can't complain. But I don't know. I think it was a personal decision for me when I also chose to kind of go vegetarian for like several reasons, and so I kind of stay true to it. I mean, granted, in the beginning there were like times that I obviously kind of missed certain favorite foods or like certain like meats that were specifically done at certain restaurants that I kind of still remember the taste on my tongue, but I don't know. I guess when you think about the longer picture and the overall aspect, you kind of just don't really crave it after a certain time. So I think I forget who had mentioned the habit. It's very similar to that, where if you do it for an extended period of time, it just kind of becomes your almost like a daily routine almost.
Right.
Yeah.
So when
we are young, you know, a lot of time when we are in the high school or maybe even middle school or college, we will get a lot of peer pressures, okay? Because everybody gonna laugh at us. Because in the beginning, even myself, when I was in the beginning, I refused, okay? The reason because I was on business trip a lot. Yeah. And I said it's so inconvenient to go to be a vegetarian if I travel a lot to go out with my colleague. But you know what happened? One time I was in Singapore, and then they have a hot pot dinner. We have about 15 people in hot pot, big table together. And then they prepared hot pot for vegetarian for me. Then we went to this restaurant. So everybody sitting at a big table. And the owner is a vegetarian too. And he prepared a small table for me, just myself, with a big cart of all the vegetarian foods. Because the owner was a vegetarian too. So I got all kind of food for myself. And I just unbelievable. So don't worry about it. When you go there, all the saints of Buddha will help us. So that was the first time I was shocked. See, unbelievable. You go to restaurant, then it's so convenient. So every time I go out, even travel to different countries, all my colleagues, when they went out with me, they all order vegetarian food with me. So they know I'm vegetarian. So we all eat vegetarian food together. So Saints and Buddha will help all of us on the side. Okay, you will find out it's amazing thing will happen to all of us.
What about Sally?
Hi. So my story in a sense is similar to Tyler's. That I'm also very fortunate enough that my parents, they've taken the vegan vow. And for most of my life, I grew up eating vegetarian food. And so this is something that it's almost kind of natural for me. I think for me, my struggle is to let go of like the attachment. We've talked about attachments before in our classes. To let go of the attachment to me. And I think a transmitter, Lynn, you talked about like the convenience of going on trips and, you know, the convenience of eating the food that's there, because finding vegetarian food outside when you travel like that, it's very hard. I think that's another thing that I'm also trying to wrap my mind around and lose that attachment as well. So I think it's really great that my family is here to support me, being that we are mainly we do eat a vegan diet at home. And I think it's me coming around.
That's good. And then, are you vegetarian now?
No, I have not taken the vegetarian vow.
Yeah.
No, I have.
Are your colleagues or friends supportive?
They're very, very understanding.
Yeah.
Because they know how I grew up and they know that my family, we eat vegetables. And so they're very understanding of me.
That's great.
That's nice.
Yeah. You know what? One thing I want to share with everybody else. I was on business trip to the China a lot because I went there 10 times a year. And then every time I went with my colleague, a lot of people got sick. They couldn't even get up in the early morning. So every trip, somebody got sick. So it's interesting with all the seafood, certain food, because the reason we don't have the immune systems against all these bacteria. So when we went out there to eat, a lot of people got sick. All my colleagues, a lot of people got sick on every trip, but I was not. So it was interesting, very, very unbelievable trip. Every trip for me in 10 trips in 1 year. So I can see the difference on those 10 trips.
Yeah.
So it's helped us, all of us, especially today's a lot of vegetarian food, seafood, they are all a lot of pollutions inside. We don't see it. So especially for all of us, we don't have that ability against those bacteria. So it's easy for us to get sick. So God bless all of us. Yeah. Just take one day at a time, one thing at a time to try to learn how to be a vegetarian. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to have kind of like a support group, or people who would support you in this diet, whether or not they are also vegan or not, but at least they respect your decisions and all that. And I was fortunate too when I was in California working, and my friends they kind of respected it, and going. I remember traveling. Like I went to a conference once in Texas, and they went to Lowry's restaurant. I don't know if you've heard. It's very well known. They serve, the beef, steak. I mean, they wheel around this cart with a part of a cow on it, and they carve it right there. But I was eating vegetarian, so I just obviously the only thing I could get there is like some side dish of some vegetable. But it didn't bother me. I mean,
it's hard. So it's good when you're in a group and everyone is vegetarian. So like that restaurant and your friends would think that you are strange because you are not eating like they're eating.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you had to travel, bring some kind of dry food with yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. Bring you with yourself, just in case there are not too much stuff you can eat, not enough food to eat. You bring your own stuff to eat. Yeah, in a hotel or someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can bring your own. Yeah, so that helps.
Yeah, like because I travel a lot too, and sometimes I go places and there's nothing to eat for me but fruits. So I started taking, even though that's processed, but I take those packaged soup from the vegan store, and I could do that in the hotel. So to make sure that I have something to eat, because I need the sustenance to do what I travel for. So it's easy, like transmitter just said, we need to take what we need to eat so we don't have to go through that sort of non-food available.
We got some member in Taiwan. I think for those people cultivator in Taiwan are very, very lucky because it's so convenient in Taiwan to have vegetarian food. So fortunate and lucky to be there to have vegetarian food.
But it's not so bad now in the U.S. I mean, it's pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
At least the cities, you can get vegetarian food.
Yeah. More so California than New York, but New York is catching up. So.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting for them, how about some vegetarians who would like to comment and encourage those who are not vegetarians?
Or what's the most difficulty when you try to become vegetarian? What kind of bottleneck you are facing? For the young people, maybe they are facing some kind of
difficulty.
Bottleneck, some kind of question they are facing. Try to become vegetarian.
Yeah, see, actually, I would throw out, I would say, besides that, having the support of, whether it's your family members or other people, having your own conviction, a very strong, a strong will, say, this is what I want to do. And, I mean, that's very important, having that will and you can say maybe confidence that you can do it. That's that inner force or power, which can't come from anywhere else. And so we do have to have that, to be able to be successful. But again, after a while, like I said earlier, this habit, it becomes habit forming. And so if we break the old habits of eating meat and, we form a new habit of eating, these other plant-based foods, then it's easy because again, it's kind of a habit. It's what we're used to. And, like before, the last thing I gave up is, pizza, right? Cheese. Cause that's like pizza was like one of my main staple foods. After you stop eating that for a while, I mean, you might think about it, but it's like now I don't really have necessarily like a desire or hankering to want to eat pizza. I mean, it'd be nice if I would make my own with vegan cheese. Now you have like vegan cheese, so you can make your own. Or some places you can get it with vegan cheese. So it's not, you have more options now. So you may not necessarily have to give it up entirely, right?
I did ask them to take the cheese out.
No,
but they eat pizza.
And some of the pizza places are now carrying a vegan pizza. So I've never seen it, but I've just seen commercials. But one of the best way to help, especially the young people, is learning to cook their own meals. If they learn to cook it, so they will not have to crave or don't worry about the taste. Just make sure that what you're cooking, and you don't really have to cook, you can steam the meals, right? But just try it. It will get better and better all the time.
Yeah, and then there's also a lot of other, online resources. If you go to YouTube, plenty of, if you look up plant-based foods and whatnot, there's a lot of them, and recipes. There are thousands of those recipes out there as well. So there are a lot of resources out there that can help.
Just have to watch out for the onions and the garlic in those resources. Yeah,
right. So those are the things that, again, we try to avoid those, again, try to make it a habit to avoid those as much as possible, yeah.
Are there any non-vegetarian that have a question about trying to become a vegetarian and want to find out how or what procedure you have to go through to take the vegetarian vow?
Well, while we're waiting, because I also, saw some videos about, there's, some doctors are starting to look at more, I don't know what they call it, like integrative medicine, or I want to say holistic, but I think that's something else. But basically, there are all these different aspects that affect our health, like mentioned, like the microbiome, the bacteria. That's one. That's a very important one, actually, because if that gets messed up, then that affects a lot of things of our health. And maybe you can eat the medicines or whatever, but it won't help you if the bacteria is wrong in our health, in our guts. So that's a very important. But another thing is, like in treatment of cancer, or there's something called angiogenesis. That's the creation. It's actually the body creates blood vessels. Okay, and so this is about controlling that, basically, the creation of blood vessels. And there's certain foods that promote the growth of blood vessels, and certain foods that kind of inhibit it. And so, like in terms of like cancer treatment, because the cancer cells that get blood vessels going to them, they're going to grow really fast because they're getting nutrients and they're getting fed. And so, what they call anti-angiogenesis is to, eat the foods that kind of inhibit the growth of blood vessels so that you starve out these cancer cells. And, they actually have made drugs, that, basically using the extracts, using these compounds, that are found in the plants, that inhibit it. And, these things work, to a certain extent. They work pretty well. So there's a lot of different, aspects, that, I found it's very, very fascinating. Okay, so Johnny, there's a question here. It says, does lab-grown meat count as meat?
Lab-grown meat, no. Not well. It depends on what the growth is generated from. Because if it's meat, the other thing I think Holy Teacher did ask us to not to purchase or consume anything in the store when it's saying it's termed meat, right? So we should not be. That's processed because it's almost unnatural. So we should actually try to avoid that. Since we are trying to avoid processed foods, that's a process.
Yeah, I mean, lab-grown meat is, that's kind of like gets into kind of a gray area. Even though you don't necessarily have the morality issue of killing animals. I mean, of course, maybe the initial, you got some cells from the animal initially.
Yes.
But then later on, you keep growing these cells in the lab. So, but still, it's the idea is you're still eating meat. I mean, it is meat. I mean, that's it's still from the original cells from the animal.
Yeah.
So even though you're not killing, but so I mean, the idea is to kind of get away from this not have this attachment to meat, this, whether it's the texture, the flavor, whatever that it's coming from that animal. Okay. Now, of course, you have, like Impossible Burger or Beyond Meat burgers. They're trying to imitate the meat in terms of flavor and texture. But the idea there is those aren't really meant. I mean, if you know their marketing, they're actually targeting meat eaters. Okay, so that's their market is for the meat eaters to convert to a plant-based. So for us who are maybe already plant-based, we don't. I mean, yes, it's kind of like a luxury to eat one of those things. But we don't need to, and we shouldn't really. If we're going to eat those, it shouldn't be like every week or that often. Okay, again, because those are processed too. So even though that they might be maybe healthier than meat, but it's still processed and it's not as healthy as eating whole foods.
Whole food, right? But
and
if
Holy Teacher did encourage us to eat the plant food under the ground. Okay, like carrots, and all those all the foods, all the vegetables under the soil.
That comes from the soil, yeah.
Yeah.
See, if people still having craving for burgers, it is very easy to make your own burger from plants, and vegetables. It's not hard at all. It don't have to be perfect, but again, you could, it will mushrooms. You could use chickpeas. You could do lentil, which lentil will hold better than the chickpeas, and you put those together, and you could get your burger just as well. So you don't have to have craving for hamburgers. So I thank you, Grace of Heaven, grand masters, grand predecessors, transmitters, and lecturers. And all of you, if I have made any mistakes, if I have spoken incorrectly, misquoted, or said anything wrong, or have offended anyone, I ask for heaven and all of your forgiveness. Thank you.